Welcome to my viewers. Tonight, I want to share something that still sends chills down my spine years later. Have you ever had a dream so real, so vivid, that it made you question your own memories? What if that dream wasn't a dream at all, but a buried memory fighting to surface? What I'm about to tell you isn't fiction. This really happened, and it still haunts me. This happened over the course of 3 or 4 years, when I was a kid. I can't remember exactly when the first one started, but I began having this recurring half-lucid nightmare maybe once every couple of months. It always went the same way. I'd be lying in bed, but the view wasn't from my eyes. I was looking down at myself from the ceiling, like a surveillance feed. That dissociation terrified me every time. I couldn't move, couldn't float back into my body, just swivel my head, helplessly watching. Even though I was half aware it was a dream, it never lessened the fear. Then strange details would begin to emerge. My digital clock counting backward, crayon drawings I didn't remember ever making, a toy train I had lost years ago, now placed in random spots on the floor, and always, I felt compelled to turn toward the window. That's when he would appear, a man with gray hair and a scar on his temple, watching me. Just watching. And then he'd start clawing at the glass like he was trying to come inside. That's when I'd usually wake up sweating, breathless, paralyzed by fear. Sometimes I'd leap from bed to check the window. Other nights, I couldn't even move. I told my parents after the 4th time. They said it was just a dream, nothing to worry about. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. After the dream stopped for a few months, I thought I was in the clear until they returned. One dream was exactly the same, except the window was open. And when I woke up that time, I couldn't move for 5 minutes. I was freezing, like cold air was rushing in from the open window. I was terrified he had finally made it inside. The fear became routine. I trained myself not to react, not to panic. Eventually I told my parents everything, every detail, and that's when something shifted. Their expressions changed. When I mentioned the man's scar, my dad cut me off and asked if I was sure. I said yes. That's when they told me about Uncle Brian. He wasn't really family, just a close friend of my dad's from college, who used to watch me when I was a baby. There had been a falling out. My dad forbade him from ever coming near me again. And Brian, he had a scar on his temple, from a car crash before I was even born. Later my dad told me, he believed the dreams were memories, buried deep, that I somehow remembered Brian through dreams. But it got darker. One night in year 4, I woke up and actually saw something move outside my window. My dad ran out barefoot. My mom held me close. He found faint footprints in the dirt below my window. They said they called the police, but I never heard sirens. And the dream, it never came back. But to this day I wonder, was Brian really out there, watching me for all those years? Or was it someone else entirely? Someone my mind confused with him? Maybe I'll never know. But if I do, I'll send an update. Until then, check your rinens. Lock them tight. And if you ever see someone watching you in your dreams, don't assume it's just a dream. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and let me know in the comments. Have you ever had a dream that felt more like a memory?
I'll try to keep this short. Most nights I fall asleep with some sort of background noise. It's the easiest way for me to knock out fast. Sometimes it's a chess video, other times a podcast about outer space, or even just a thunderstorm recording. You get the picture. I dream a lot, and whatever I listen to tends to sneak into my dreams, like if I fall asleep to soccer highlights. Chances are I'll dream about playing soccer. This trick has saved me from tons of nightmares over the years. A few weeks ago, I stayed over at my friend Duncan's house. Since it was a sleepover, I didn't have my usual noise routine. That wasn't a big deal. It just meant my dreams would be a little more random. It was me, Duncan, and Ian. Duncan's parents were out of town, which is why the sleepover was even happening. We all crashed in his living room. It's full of big, cozy couches. That night, I had one of the most intense dreams I've had in ages. I was on this little sailboat, out in the middle of the ocean. No idea why. It's not like I've ever been sailing. The sea was rough. The sky this bizarre swirl of purple and gray. The wind was loud but weirdly peaceful, like I was inside a dream sequence in a movie. Then the boat jerked. I didn't see what hit us, but I felt it hard. Something cracked under the boat, and water started pouring in fast. I tried stuffing the hole with my jacket. Totally useless. Panic set in. I mean, real overwhelming panic. Then, just as the boat was about to go under, a dolphin leapt from the water, looked me in the eye and said, "Wake up," in perfect English. I snapped awake. Normally I'm out of it for a few minutes after I wake up, but this time was different, though I didn't know why yet. I looked around. Nothing seemed off. My friends were asleep and everything looked the same. I was still in that weird mental fog you get right after waking up, where nothing fully makes sense. Then my brain caught up. That's when I noticed a sound. Something clearly wrong. There was this steady rushing noise coming from upstairs. Not like a leaky faucet. It was full, constant pressure, like a hose left on. That probably explains the ocean dream. I sat still, trying to figure it out. Then, being dumb, I decided to go see for myself. I crept upstairs, staying as quiet as I could. The sound got louder with every step. It was definitely water, coming from the bathroom at the end of the hall. The door was cracked open, and I could see the sink from where I stood. The cold water tap was turned all the way on. It was blasting. That wasn't something that could have just happened on its own. It didn't add up. I walked closer, about to step in, but something made me freeze. The bathroom's big. There's a counter, a tub with a curtain, and this weird little corner with the toilet. Too many places for someone to hide. Someone could have been behind the curtain, or even right behind the door. My gut screamed at me to stop. I turned around and ran back down to wake Duncan. I shook him, told him something was off. He was groggy at first, but once he heard the panic in my voice, he sat up and asked what was going on. I told him the sink upstairs was going off, and that I thought someone was in the house. That got his attention fast. We left Ian sleeping, and crept upstairs together. When we reached the bathroom, Duncan didn't hesitate. He shoved the door open and walked in. I had no idea what was coming. Out of nowhere, a guy came charging from behind the corner, and tackled Duncan. It happened in a flash. Duncan went down and this guy started swinging a piece of PVC pipe like he meant business. I reacted on instinct, threw myself at him. We both jumped on him, trying to pin him down, but he was big, strong. It was total chaos. Somehow he shoved us off and bolted down the stairs. By the time we reached the porch, he was gone. The cops arrived about half an hour later. They checked around and found a window on the ground floor had been left unlocked. It was wide open, no security cameras, so nothing to review. The police chalked it up to a random break-in, just a burglar, but we all think it was something else. Why would a burglar go out of his way to turn on a faucet? That's not how robbers operate. It was clearly meant to lure someone upstairs. But why? If he wanted to steal stuff, why wait and risk being seen? It felt calculated. Duncan is sure the guy knew his parents were out of town and assumed he'd be alone that night. If that's true, then I don't even want to think about what would have happened if I'd gone in that bathroom by myself.
This happened on a Friday night, just a couple of months ago. My girlfriend's parents had planned a weekend getaway, an anniversary trip, I think. So Bonnie, my girlfriend, invited me to stay over. Normally her parents are super strict. Sleeping in the same room was a big no, but since they'd be out of town until Sunday, we figured it was harmless. Bonnie lives in one of those eerily uniform suburban neighborhoods where every house looks the same, and by 10 p.m., the whole street goes dead quiet. Honestly, that place always gave me a weird feeling. Too quiet, too still. It's the kind of neighborhood that makes you nervous for no reason. So I was glad I didn't have to drive back late that night. I got there around 8, with snacks. We watched a movie, just hung out,
Bonnie's room is on the second floor and faces the backyard. From her window, you can barely see into the dense line of trees that surround their property. There's not much lighting outside, so at night, those trees are like a black wall, an abyss. She has a queen-size bed, so there was plenty of space. We drifted off around midnight. That's when the dream started. It was a false awakening. If you've never had one, it's hard to explain. I woke up to the sound of a door slamming somewhere downstairs. Heavy, fast footsteps thundered up the staircase. I jolted upright, ready to defend us, but I didn't move. Something about the room felt off. Everything looked normal, every detail, but beneath the bedroom door, there was a thin strip of yellow light, just a sliver. But I couldn't look away from it. My heart started pounding, my vision tunneled in on that glow, while everything else around me faded into darkness. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Then came the voices. At first, it was just one, a woman whispering cruel things about me. She mocked the way I looked, the way I thought my future. But then it got personal. Too personal. She talked about things I'd never told anyone. Deep secrets, childhood mistakes, embarrassing memories I had buried long ago. One voice became two became dozens. Soon it was like 100 voices were screaming my secrets into the room. I felt exposed, dissected, like my soul was being ripped apart. I couldn't take it anymore. I leapt from the bed, flung the door open, and instantly the whole house went pitch black. The voices stopped. The air turned so cold, it felt like needle, and in that moment, I felt like I had stepped into another reality entirely. I stumbled back to the bed and dove under the covers, like a terrified child. And then, I woke up, but it wasn't real. I was still dreaming. I sat up, tried to calm down, but the light was still there glowing beneath the door. Then the same thing happened. The door slammed downstairs, footsteps raced up. Voices returned. The entire nightmare replayed with perfect accuracy. When I finally woke up for real, I was drenched in sweat. Bonnie was asleep beside me, unaware of anything. I started to relax, until I looked at the door. That strip of light was still there. Bonnie and I were supposed to be alone. Every light in the house was off. I just stared, paralyzed, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. And then, footsteps. Real ones. Downstairs. No dream. No confusion. Just the unmistakable sound of someone walking through the house. We were being robbed. I grabbed my phone and quietly called the police. Then I locked the door, crept back to Bonnie, and gently woke her up, covering her mouth so she wouldn't scream. She nodded, stayed calm. It felt like forever. But soon we heard shouting downstairs. The police had arrived. I came down just in time to see two masked men, in handcuffs, being led to the squad car. Apparently they had broken in after seeing a Facebook post about Bonnie's parents leaving town. Oddly enough, the break-in doesn't haunt me. What haunts me is the dream. How could I have seen that strip of light? How could the nightmare have matched the real events before they happened? And why did those voices know such intimate details about my life? Bonnie thinks it was just my subconscious, but I'm not so sure. I can still see that thin strip of light in my mind. I see it when I close my eyes. Sometimes, even when they're open, it's not fading. It's like, it's part of me now. Thanks for watching. If this story gave you chills, hit the like button, subscribe for more creepy tales, and drop a comment if you've ever had a dream that bled into reality. And remember, sometimes the scariest things don't come from outside your door. They come from inside your mind.